impact all areas of your life. Whether you're looking for the best place to move to in retirement, a new car, auto repair, entertainment, how to save money on medications, latest safety devices, home medical options, or financial advice, you will find all that and more when you pick up your free copy of The Best Times at one of over 250 locations throughout the Mid-South. The Best Times, the source of quality information for mature Mid-Southerners for over 33 years.
I'm Ed Harrell, and this is the Kindness Revolution. An old adage in sales is that people tend to ships. We need to treat others the way they want to be treated. So here's what we can learn from this. If you want to relate to someone else, model the way you behave more towards the way they behave. This is sometimes referred to as mirroring and can lead to building and maintaining relationships that are important to you, as well as reducing conflict between people. So give it a shot and let me know how it works. To learn more, check us out at thekindnessrevolution.net.
Don't miss Maine and Mulberry Live every Thursday morning at 8 right here on KWAM The Voice. Maine and Mulberry Live explores the crossroads of modernization and small-town tradition, exemplified in Collierville, Tennessee. Host Keith Essery sits down with local entrepreneurs, thriving businesses, city officials, and thought leaders right here every Thursday at 8 a.m. Tune in and learn how a town comes of age with economic growth. Maine and Mulberry Live is brought to you by John Green & Company Realtors, building neighbors for 40 years.
Candid Conversations is on the air every Sunday at 2 p.m.
An abuser can seem emotionally needy. You can get caught in a trap of catering to him or her, so no matter how much you give him or her, it will never be enough. He will just keep coming up with more demands because he or she believes their needs are your responsibility.
Sunday afternoons at 2 p.m. with Dr. Rich and T.K. Carter here on KWAM.
All right, welcome back.
Yes, have some.
The Nation of Jake is on The Voice, FM 107.9, AM 990. We're online, KWAMTheVoice.com. And streaming live on YouTube, the YouTube channel, very simple, Nation of Jake. Also the same on Facebook and on Twitter. All right, so I was in Pigeon Forge all weekend. I took off Friday, headed to Pigeon Forge with my buddy Ed. Met up with Chad and Corey. Yeah, it was a real white weekend. Chad and Ad and Corey. Or Ed. Chad and Ed. Chad and Ed and Corey and Jake. Yeah, just a few white guys hanging out in a cabin, eating steak and drinking bourbon. That was pretty much it. And it wasn't very exciting. There wasn't any very bad things happening on the road in Pigeon Forge, but I've got some thoughts on Pigeon Forge. But because I took off Friday, we were unable to discuss Thursday night's debate that happened, the second of two nights. Now, this was the big one with the top-tier candidates, the Joe Bidens. Actually, there's only one. Just one Joe Biden. One Joe Biden, one Bernie Sanders, one Pete Buttigieg, and one Kamala Harris, and then a bunch of other crazy people like Eric Swalwell and then Marianne Williamson, which go by the way, her tweets are insane. Marianne Williamson, I'm almost certain that she was the model for the red woman from Game of Thrones. Melisandre, the one that was all into the Lord of the Light and what have you. If you read her tweets, it reads very much like the red woman from Game of Thrones, if you're a fan of that program. So the 2020 race is now wide open after the debates, if you believe what people are writing. Now, the big moment of the debate on Thursday was that Joe Biden got exposed. He got called out by Kamala Harris for his work with a segregationist senator back in the 70s about some federal anti-busing legislation. All right, so regardless of how you feel about federal anti-busing legislation, we can get into that in a little bit if you want. Kamala Harris called him out, pretty much called him a racist, even though she prefaced it by saying, I don't think Joe Biden's a racist, but he did a bunch of racist stuff back in the 70s. And this just goes back to what we've said about Joe Biden and his candidacy on this program for months now, is that Joe Biden has much too long a record from when politics were different. Joe Biden served in the Senate from 1972 until 2008 when he became vice president under Barack Obama. Things were way different back in 1972 between Democrats and Republicans. Hell, between Democrats and Democrats back then. Okay, so Kamala Harris had this big moment. She's surging in the polls as a result. But all she really did was call Joe Biden a racist, and he did not respond well. He got flustered, but my time is up. He didn't want to answer the question. He couldn't articulate any kind of defense of his work with James Eastland back in 1977, 78, or whenever it was. So, real bad look for Joe Biden. I mean, if you look at the side-by-side of Joe Biden at 9 p.m. Eastern, and then Joe Biden an hour and a half later, I mean, he aged 12 years. I mean, he looked like he was 82 years old. Check that. 88, 85, however the hell old he would be in 12 years. Old is what it is. He also got called out for being old. The whole pass the torch thing, rough night for Joe Biden. Kamala Harris had a very good night. But I will point this out. Did she win the debate? Did she best Joe Biden on a meaningful debate about any issue? Were there any issues up for debate? And they were just tearing each other down. You worked with segregationists. It's like, okay, does that change anything? Are we going to debate any real issues of substance? There was no substantive debate because all these candidates believe the same stuff. I pointed this out last week. Can you have a debate when all these candidates are lockstep? Now, the one thing that is going to haunt every candidate on stage on Thursday was getting behind Medicare for all or free health care for illegal immigrants. At one point, I think Chuck Todd, the moderator, asked by a show of hands which candidates support health care for illegal immigrants. And they all raised their hand. All of them. What they essentially did was they gave Donald Trump an attack ad on all of them. And essentially what he can say is, no matter which one of these clowns gets the nomination, they are all in favor of using your tax dollars to pay for health care for people who are in this country illegally. That's not a mainstream perspective. That is not going to win you votes in middle America. It might not even win you votes on the coasts. That's how far left that they've all been dragged in this primary so far. Now, for months, it's been Biden and Bernie. Biden and Bernie, Bernie and Biden. The front runners. The old white men. But after this eventful month of June and the conclusion of the first round of debates, there's a new top tier and a sense among many campaigns that Biden and Sanders are suddenly within reach in a race that has, quote unquote, broken wide open. See, I don't think you can have this wide open race when you've got 24 candidates and one of them is Eric Swalwell or John Hickenlooper or Kirsten Gillibrand or Marianne Williamson or Andrew Yang. Those people have no shot, none whatsoever. So it can't be wide open. They're using that a little cavalierly, I believe. Bernie and Biden were largely living off inertia, says Colin Strother, a veteran Democratic strategist. Voters are becoming aware that other candidates have a lot of things to offer. A lot of things to offer. No, they have the same things to offer. They're offering up the same stuff. There's not a lot of other things to offer. Actually, they're offering everything. They are. Yeah, ask Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren's probably got the most momentum going right now. And she and Kamala Harris. You know, they both had good nights on their respective debates. That said, I don't think they set themselves apart policy-wise. They just want to give everything away for free. Elizabeth Warren has a plan for everything, and that plan is taxpayer-funded. That. Whatever it is. Oh, college tuition? Oh, taxpayers will take care of it. Student debt? Taxpayers will take care of it. Healthcare? Medicare for all. Climate change? Green New Deal. I got a plan for that. Yeah, and it's all the same plan. It's just one plan. It's government pays for everything. Tax the rich, spend the money on people for votes. That's your plan. It's a template. It's just a boilerplate plan, not just for Elizabeth Warren, but for the entire Democratic field. Following the debates, Elizabeth Warren drew one of her largest crowds yet, 3,600 people in Chicago. Kamala Harris announced Saturday she had raised $2 million from more than 63,000 people in the 24 hours following her debate, the best single-day fundraising of the campaign. You know, Donald Trump, just put in perspective, he had a rally in Florida and raised $24 million in 24 hours. So $2 million in 24 hours, I mean, that's impressive. But when you're talking about the war chest that Donald Trump will have, and Kamala Harris, and Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders, and Joe Biden, they have to use all this stuff up just to get to Iowa in February. Elizabeth Warren is at 12% in the polls. Kamala Harris is now tied with Elizabeth Warren, and then Biden is still leading the field at 33%, and Sanders is 7 percentage points ahead of Harris and Warren at 19%. Now, Biden's debate blundering appears to have pierced any remaining notions that the former vice president was on a glide path to the nomination. Did anybody really think that? Did anybody really think that, oh, Joe, here it is. It's June of 2019, and we've got an election coming up in November of 2020. Joe's got this thing locked up. Yeah, he's got it locked up. I didn't think that. I've been saying for months that Joe Biden's got serious problems. Serious problems with his campaign, especially being the front runner. He's a gaffe machine. He's got a target on his back. It's far from over. But if the past is any indication of the future, Joe Biden will be dropping out of this race at some point. All the gaffes, all the history, his record will catch up with him. He had to drop out of the 1988 election for things like this, the plagiarism. And now we got the sniffing. Now we got the flip-flopping. Now we've got the attacks. So, I mean, it's not anybody's ball game, but it's opened up a little bit. But I never thought that it was just Bernie and Biden and everybody else, because you know that things are going to change. But still, how about this? How about the dynamic? You had Wednesday's night debate. You had Elizabeth Warren kind of at the kiddie table, so she had a good night, even though she kind of disappeared. But then by the next day, you had the anticipation of the Joe Biden headlined debate with Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders. So Wednesday was gone. Then Thursday's debate, you know, it was ugly, and people were talking about it Friday. But then Donald Trump erases all of it with his trip to North Korea, his off-the-cuff trip to North Korea. I mean, sometimes, you know, getting in the news isn't always the best. Let this kind of marinate a little bit. So I think Donald Trump did them all favors by making the headlines this week, because nobody's talking about the debates. They're all talking about Donald Trump in North Korea and his old Asia trip. It's going to be interesting. Honestly, I think that there were people who didn't like that Kamala Harris went after Joe Biden like that. I mean, I think that Joe Biden's approval with African Americans actually went up after being attacked by Kamala Harris over the desegregationist stuff, or the segregationist senator that he compromised with back in the day, or sought the advice of, sought the counsel and mentorship of. And a little bit more on that in a while. I think in the Daily Memphian is where we have Mike Nelson, my former professor at Rhodes. He wrote a real convincing piece on why what Joe Biden did was not that big a deal, working with a segregationist senator back in the 70s, and how federal anti-busing laws, they didn't work, and Joe Biden was right to oppose them, as coming up in a little bit. But I didn't even know until I woke up today. Today's Canada Day. I've never celebrated Canada Day in my life. I usually reserve July 1st for a more important day. So it is Canada Day, and it's also a much more important day than that. So we'll talk about today's commemorations when we come back right here in the Nation of Jake.
0.9 and AM 990.
CBS News Update. There was chaos on the 22nd anniversary of Hong Kong's return to China. Protesters took over Hong Kong's parliament, a building housing the legislature dominated by pro-Beijing lawmakers. CBS News contributor Isaac Stonefish.
There's a lot of people who have a lot of really pent-up frustrations on the Hong Kong side, and then there's police officers who've been working overtime for the last several weeks to deal with all of these protesters, and it really does feel like a very combustible situation.
Demonstrators are upset about the extradition bill that would allow people to be sent to China for trial. Asia expert Gordon Chang.
Carrie Lam, the chief executive, has suspended consideration of the bill, but she has not done what people wanted, which is to withdraw the bill entirely from the Legislative Council. So it is still a live matter.
CBS News Update, I'm Pam Coulter.
Do you like fine cigars? Then visit Crossroads Cigar Emporium, located at 1403 West Goodman Road in Horn Lake, Mississippi. They carry all of your favorite brands, like El Artista, Cohiba, Padron, Upsetter, Tatiana, Arturo Fuente, Monte Cristo, and more. Crossroads also carries more than 30 brands of pipe tobacco, plus premium handmade pipes. Come smoke with us at Crossroads Cigar Emporium, open Monday through Thursday and Saturdays from 10 to 7, Fridays 10 to 8, and Sundays 11 to 6. Happy Pasita!
Hi, I'm Danny Lipford from Today's Homeowner. Need to up your home improvement game? We can help. Whether you're aiming to impress someone special with your handy skills, tackle neglected repairs, or add value to your home, we've got your weekly dose of expert advice, tips, and hacks for taming your to-do list. And we'll have a little fun along the way. Your home will be the one that's talked about for all the right reasons, and it starts right here. Tune in to Today's Homeowner every Saturday morning from 6 to 9 right here on KWAM, the voice for the Mid-South.
This is Clark Howard. Unfortunately, in many communities around the country, there are insurance scams where people are in accidents with you that they really set up so that you look as if you're at fault. And it's all about claiming personal injury and all that. It's not about damage to their vehicle. And I want you to know this has become a big problem in several cities. So there's a simple solution for you. It'll cost you as little as $15. Buy what's known as a dash cam. It's a little miniature camera that you mount on your windshield, and it continuously records on an SD card what goes on typically for a 15-minute cycle. If you're ever in an accident somebody's claiming is your fault, and you're pretty confident it's not, you've got the video evidence on that dash cam that could make a big difference in who wins and who loses in an accident claim.
I'm pretty handy around the house, but now that I have kids, I don't want to spend my Saturday installing a toilet or fixing an air conditioner. But thankfully, there's Home Advisor. Home Advisor helps me find the best home pros in my area to handle any kind of project. You can read reviews of the pros, check their availability, and even book appointments online. And what my wife loves most is that Home Advisor is completely free to use.
Go to homeadvisor.com or download the free app to get started.
Home Advisor.
Have you heard what President Trump said recently?
Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too. I like it too.
Now you can watch Newsmax TV and get the truth about Trump from Bill O'Reilly, Mike Reagan, Alan Dershowitz, Pat Buchanan, and more. Newsmax TV is America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in 70 million homes. Find Newsmax on DirecTV, Dish, Xfinity, Spectrum, Optimum, Fios, Uverse, and more systems. See Newsmax TV today. It's real news for real people.
All right, welcome back.
Yes, have some.
The Nation of Jake on The Voice, FM 107.9 AM 990. Online, KWAMthevoice.com. Streaming live on YouTube, Nation of Jake, the channel. Go find that and then suggest it to your friends that they subscribe. Because you're already there, right? Okay, I don't know who programmed this song on Canada Day. We're celebrating all things Canada. not Australia. Save the AC/DC, the thunder from down under, for another day. Get some Rush going. Something that's tragically hip on this Canada Day. I didn't know it was Canada Day until today. And also, I didn't realize how hard it is to say Canada Day. Canada Day. Canada Day. The Day of Canada. All right, so, yeah, July 1st apparently is Canada Day. I grew up celebrating my father's birthday on July 1st because it's his birthday, and he's a year older. Really just a day older. He's not a year older, if you think about it. He just turned, another year older today, but he's a day older. So happy birthday to my father, Jerry, who listens religiously. He does. He puts on robes. He lights candles. He chants. He listens to the show religiously, quite literally, like he practices the religion. He has he's got one of those kneeler things. What do they call it? He's got like this pew in his house, and he listens religiously. It's stupid. But it is also Canada Day, and I'm not sure how my dad feels about sharing his birthday with an entire country just to the north of us in Canada, the Maple Country. Is that what they are? The Great White North? But so I had no idea about Canada Day, so I looked it up. And for you, I will also clue you in, because I'm sure you have no idea. Canada Day wasn't always widely celebrated, or even known as Canada Day. Well, that's why. It wasn't always a thing. Over the years, Canadians have embraced the holiday, which falls on July 1st and celebrates the country's history and achievements. What might those be? No idea. I will say this, though. My man Sean Danko at the Kooky Canuck, both downtown and in Cordova, he's got to be my favorite Canadian, at least of the Canadians I know personally. This guy comes down from Canada. He opens a restaurant in Memphis, Tennessee, and he loves America, but he also loves Canada. I saw the guy, I think he had a Maple Leafs jersey on, maybe Montreal Canadiens. He was rocking the hockey sweater on Canada Day. Here's how it came to be and how people commemorate the occasion. It was originally called Dominion Day. The Dominion of Canada was formed by the British Parliament on July 1st, 1867, via the British North America Act, now known as the Constitution Act. The act merged New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Ontario, and Quebec. In 1868, Governor-General Lord Monck signed a proclamation calling all Canadians to celebrate its formation. But it wasn't until 1879, good Lord, full 11 years later, that the federal government recognized Dominion Day. Over time, Canada gradually became independent from Britain, and Dominion Day was officially changed to Canada Day in 1982. So it's a relatively new thing. 1982, that's not... I was alive in 1982. Here's how to celebrate. No national symbol is as ubiquitous as Canada's maple leaf. The festivities go on all day, range from fireworks, parades, barbecues, citizenship ceremonies, and other events. If you're feeling patriotic or curious, listen to the national anthem, O Canada. Canada recognized both English and French as its official languages. The Canadian government offers the song in both languages as well as a bilingual version. So if you're feeling Canadian, or if you just want to give a nod to America's hat, celebrate Canada Day. We've got the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Mounties. They perform an intricate set of drills and choreography on horseback. The musical Ride, as it's called, performs in up to 50 communities across Canada between May and October. In Quebec, many leases end or begin on July 1st, so Canada Day is celebrated alongside what is known as Moving Day. All right, so it sounds like a riot. Just a fun time up in Canada. I celebrate Canada in a much different way. I just like to go through, and I like to differentiate the things to celebrate about Canada with the things not so much to be proud of if you are Canadian. The best Canadian stuff, we got to put Rush in there, the aforementioned Rush, Geddy Lee, Neil Peart, Alex Lifeson. Those guys were around, sold something like 50 million records, finally got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Kind of the faces of, the progenitors of prog rock will be Rush. We've also got some of the worst Canadian stuff on the same The same subject. We're on music. We've got Bieber, Justin from Canada. He's got to be on the worst list along with Nickelback. And I know that it's kind of passé to crap on Nickelback, but Nickelback is crap. So it's kind of like Whisper on a Scream, isn't it? Going to the best Canadian stuff. Big Wreck, another band. Fantastic. Little known. Not in Canada. They're actually quite big. Big Wreck is actually a sleeper. You got Rush and Big Wreck. Listen to those bands, not so much the Bieber and the Nickelback. One of the best things about Canada? The 1994 Montreal Expos. They were on their way to the World Series, but the World Series got canceled that year. On the worst list, every other season of Expos baseball. Pretty much every other season. They were a joke. They were owned by Major League Baseball for a while. They played down in Puerto Rico for a while, and then they became the Washington Nationals, whom I despise. Molson Ice, Labatt's Blue, great beers out of Canada. Also a great drink out of Canada, Canada Dry, ginger ale. A terrible drink, clearly Canadian. That was like the original burp water. You know, it's water, but it tastes like somebody ate blueberries and then burped in it. Came in different flavors. You know, burp water right out of Canada. Let's see, we got a poutine. It's fantastic. Gravy-soaked fries. And if you're French, I was told, poutine is how you say it if you're French, but poutine if you are a redneck from Tennessee. John Candy, one of the great Canadians, along with Michael J. Fox, all those guys from SCTV, Martin Short, Ryan Reynolds, I believe is Canadian. Neil Young is Canadian. Not a fan of Neil Young. Canadian bacon, that's on the good side. Not so much with the clear the Canadian on the bad side. Bryan Adams, I've got him as somebody to celebrate from Canada. Drake, not so much. Drake, the rapper's Canadian. A great Canadian rapper who does not get his due is Snow. Remember Snow? 12 inches of Snow. Informer. You know, so daddy me snow me, I go blame. I lick you boom boom down. Detective man, I say daddy me snow me, stab someone down the lane. I lick you boom boom down. Remember him, Informer? You know, say daddy me snow me, I go blame. I lick you boom boom down. Detective man, I say daddy me snow me, stab someone down the lane. I lick you boom boom down. Yeah, he was fantastic. Whatever happened to that guy? And then also we've got on the worst list the 1992-93 Toronto Blue Jays. Only because they beat the Braves in 92, beat the Phillies in 93, and it was traumatic for a young Jake. So there you have it. That's just a very honest take on Canada Day. If Sean Danko from the Kooky Canuck is listening today and he's sober, then feel free to call the show and tell me where I went wrong on that best-worst list of Canada. It's always a win, though, when a guy down in Tennessee recognizes Canada Day. All right, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, out east, the other side of Nashville, Knoxville, and north of Chattanooga. It's a very strange place. I spent all weekend there, and I've got some observations. I'm going to share those with you next, right here in the Nation of Jake.
The Voice, KWAM, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
When's the last time you looked at the windows in your house? Not through the windows, but at the windows. Really looked at them. There's dirt, streaks, buildups, smudges, fingerprints, paw prints, spider webs, dead bugs. There's little white speckles. I have no idea what they are, and who knows what else. Now, cleaning all the windows in your house makes a big difference, but it's also a big job. That's why you need Just Windows Home Services. Just Windows has been taking the pain out of window cleaning since 1992. Just Windows cleans all types of windows, storm windows, screens, skylights, interior, exterior, upstairs and down. Now, I know I told you the company is called Just Windows Home Services, but they do a lot more. Roof and gutter cleaning, pressure washing, mirrors, blinds, ceiling fans, light fixtures, chandeliers. Look, if you've got hard to reach areas of the house, then you need Just Windows Home Services. Call for a free estimate, 751-3934. That's 751-3934, or get them online at justwindowsmemphis.com. That's justwindowsmemphis.com.
When you're planning an event and need on-time delivery, call Odell Sanders. Sanders Catering has been in business for 31 years, specializing in breakfast, lunch, dinners, corporate, and social events. When you need a caterer to work with your budget, call Odell Sanders at 901-372-2631 or visit them online at sanderscatering.com and take a look at their menu. Sanders Catering, a leader in catering services. Call today at 901-372-2631.
C. Brown Masonry in Memphis reminds parents to get involved with your child's education this upcoming school year. Get to know their teachers, their friends, and what they do in their free time after school. By staying involved, you give your child the support and guidance they need to succeed. This message is brought to you by C. Brown Masonry in Memphis. For quality work done right the first time, call 501-2771. 501-2771. And say yes to education this year.
All right, welcome back.
Yes, have some.
The Nation of Jake is on The Voice, FM 107.9, AM 990, online, KWAMTheVoice.com, streaming live on YouTube. Hey, Carmen's in the YouTube chat room. What's up, Carmen? Appreciate you being there. Go join Carmen there and the rest on YouTube, the channel simple, Nation of Jake. Also on Facebook and on Twitter, Nation of Jake. All right. So over the weekend, I went to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. If you've ever been out there, it is beautiful. You got the mountains. We were up in a cabin. So you got a wooded area. You got the threat of bears. So you got to make sure you lock up all your garbage in this, your literal trash in this bear cage outside. And the bears have gotten really smart out there. They can open up car doors and whatnot. They go and steal your change out of your console. So you got to be real careful about the bears. They're getting real bold. They're jumping in the swimming pools and stuff like that and hanging out. It's like they're yogi. They've evolved. So aside of the bears, I did not see one bear out there. It was just this guy's weekend. My buddy Corey, he's a planner and he likes to put stuff together. He's like, hey man, come on out. We're going to get a bunch of whiskey and then we are going to cook up steaks and we're going to sit around and make fools of ourselves and tell stories and goof off. So I'm like, what the hell? So I caught a ride with my buddy Ed. And Ed is a good dude, and Ed is a sweet guy. But man, Ed is a nervous Nelly when it comes to driving. All right, here we have a 7-hour drive ahead of us. So we get just past the 840 exchange on 40 East. You know anything about 840? It's like a bypass. It's a south route, so you can just skip Nashville. There's no traffic. It's just bypass that whole deal and get on the other side of 40. It starts around Dixon, Tennessee, and then spits you out on the other side of Nashville. So, we're on 40. We did not get on 840. We figure, this time of day, we'll just take our chances and go through Nashville. Well, then I saw what was a massive traffic jam ahead. And so I say to Ed, I said, hey, up here on the left, there's a gravel turnaround. Turn around, let's get on 840. And Ed's like, oh no, that's for emergencies only. That's emergency vehicles only. And I said, Ed, what do you call that ahead of us? That is a huge traffic jam. All right, I said something else. Something that started with an M. But I said, that is not something we want to be involved with, Ed. And then he was like, oh no, it's illegal. Oh, I can't do it, there's police. I'm like, well, the police don't want us to be stuck in it either, dude. Anyway, he didn't turn around. That was our only shot at it. So he said it would be 30 minutes. It turned into a 3-hour delay. 3 hours. Because apparently some hazmat truck had flipped over and was leaking methylamine or something else, some explosive material. I'm sure it wasn't methylamine. That said, we had to sit in the car for an extra 3 hours getting out there. So we finally get to Pigeon Forge. And something I noticed about this place, Pigeon Forge, a lot of stuff for families to do out there, okay? No doubt. There's water parks, and there's roller coasters, and there's Dollywood, and there's all these things going on. Except I noticed a disproportionate amount of adult stores there, like that sell adult videos and toys, like the Adam and Eve store, or a store that's called Sexy Stuff. And I thought to myself, man, I don't bring my family out here. My kids can read. And all they're reading about is all these porno stores. So that was like a first observation. is what in the holy hell do people go to Pigeon Forge to do? Like, I thought this was, get away. Oh, this is scenic. Just kind of go to Walden Pond and get away, clear your head, hang out, go camping. But instead, people getting freaky in Pigeon Forge. The other thing that I noticed is you also have to be careful of going into these gift shops. All right, because these gift shops, they've got some pretty lewd t-shirts. You go into a gift shop, it's got a big mouth of a bear or a shark or something or an alligator. So it's like, oh, let's go to that big bear store, the alligator store. And then you walk in, and it's got all these sexually explicit t-shirts, and then t-shirts glorifying the use of marijuana. They got their big CBD oil, CBD sold here. So I was like, what the hell's going on with this? And also in these gift shops, this was probably the most, I wouldn't say startling, but the most confusing thing. All these gift shops in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee are run by immigrants, okay? Like first generation, English is their second language, immigrants. Asian people, people from India, maybe a family of people from south of the border. They have no problem selling Donald Trump gear, MAGA hats, flags, Trump 2020, and Confederate flags. A lot of Confederate flags for sale by immigrants in Pigeon Forge. And just goes to show, these folks want to make a good living. And the supply and demand, that rule is never not valid. And these folks running these shops, they're making a lot of money. They're making a lot of money hawking Donald Trump 2020 memorabilia and Confederate flags. And it just goes to show Twitter is not real life. No. And if somebody wanted to get on Twitter and go live tweet their trip through a Pigeon Forge gift shop, I would love to see that. Because these folks did not care. Did not care that people were buying up all the Trump 2020 stuff and the good old boy t-shirt with the Confederate flag on it. No, sir. So, interesting place to go. Just don't take the kids until you scout out all the gift shops, with all the t-shirts. All right, new laws coming into effect. Coming up.
CBS News at the top of every hour and the most local talk in the Mid-South. This is KWAM Memphis.
This is CBS News on the Hour. Real news, real reporting.
I'm Pam Coulter. Britain's foreign secretary says if Iran breaks the nuclear deal, Britain will abandon the agreement, as the U.S. did last year. Inspectors confirm Tehran has stockpiled more low-enriched uranium than it's allowed to under the agreement. While Iran's still far from obtaining a nuclear bomb, Joe Cirincione of the Plowshares Fund says it's a worrisome development.
This is their first breach of the agreement. It's a small one. What you're afraid is that this will be the beginning and you could see the unraveling. I think you're going to see a lot of countries trying to keep the Iran deal in order.
President Trump ended his G20 trip with a visit to Korea's DMZ, but it's not clear if that will advance the cause of ending North Korea's nuclear program. CBS's Chip Reed.
So far, there has been no tangible progress toward any kind of a denuclearization deal. The parties are simply heading back to the negotiating table after talks broke down earlier this year. And meanwhile, North Korea continues to produce material for nuclear weapons.
Chaos in Hong Kong. Police used tear gas on protesters, some of whom broke into the Legislative Council building on the 22nd anniversary of Hong Kong's return to China. CBS News contributor Isaac Stonefish.
This situation in Hong Kong is certainly going to be a handful for Beijing. Because on the one hand, if they push too hard, that will alienate Taiwan, which is now acts as a separate country, but Beijing feels is part of the motherland. And if they're too loose, that could encourage independent sentiments not only in Hong Kong, but also in Western China or among students and liberals across the Chinese mainland.
The U.S. and China will restart trade talks under a deal between President Trump and China's Xi Jinping. CBS's Paula Reed on how it might affect the 2020 election.
The president would be faced with having to either agree to a lesser deal, a not great trade deal, or go into the general election with no trade deal. And as someone who really sold himself as the great negotiator, the great deal maker for something like this, especially something that has such a significant impact on the economy, to try to sell himself to voters with a not great deal or no deal, not an ideal situation for the White House and one they are trying to avoid.
The As there can be no breach of what's said in confession. Tim Lennon is with the Survivors Network of those abused by priests.
It can't be just isolated and boxed in to just the confession. The responsibility is to the safety and health of the child.
Checking stocks on Wall Street, the Dow is up 52 points, NASDAQ ahead 59. This is CBS News.
Would you risk your career or your life to go up against a big company if they were doing something wrong? Meet people who did. Whistleblower on CBS Friday.
The co-chairman of JP Morgan warned that a deep correction, like 40%, could hit the stock market at any time. Don't lose 40%. Diversify. Now you can add gold or silver to your IRA or 401k rollover accounts. The stock market has been shaky with the trade negotiations. Don't risk your investments. Listen to the warnings and diversify before you lose 40%. Protect your portfolio with solid, intangible investments, gold and silver. Call 800-722-2020 now, and all qualified investors get a free 2020 Trump Freedom Coin and a 10-ounce silver bar with your account. Call 800-722-2020 to be connected now and get a free 2020 Trump Freedom Coin and a 10-ounce silver bar when you open a qualified account. Or go to noblegoldinvestments.com. Individual results may vary. Invest wisely. Open your qualified account today to get your free 2020 Trump Freedom Coin and a 10-ounce silver bar. Don't wait for a 40% deep correction. Call 800-722-2020. That's 800-722-2020.
A tough time for a man lost in a California forest.
A 73-year-old hiker is getting medical attention after a lost week in the Angeles National Forest. Janet Henderson of the LA County Sheriff's Department says Eugene Joe got separated from his group.
He had no food. He obviously knows about some type of survival. He was looking for mountain strawberries. He was trying to catch frogs to eat, but he has not had anything to eat in a week.
To stay warm, he wrapped himself in a jacket and towel and stayed close to warm rocks. Steve Kathan, CBS News.
President Trump isn't the only one interested in the U.S. women's team at the World Cup. The American women's victory over France set a record for the most-watched women's quarterfinal match ever on U.S. English language TV. Viewership peaked at about 8.25 million. The U.S. team faces England in the semifinals tomorrow. Pam Coulter, CBS News.
Ever wonder why Europeans seem to speak so many languages? Maybe it's because they use Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app in Europe. Babbel's award-winning technology gets you speaking right away, whether you're learning Spanish, French, or German. And best of all, you'll remember what you've learned.
I always thought I was bad at languages, but after using Babbel, I can tell you I was just taught the wrong way.
Using Babbel's 10 to 15-minute lessons, you can be speaking confidently in your new language within weeks.
I was amazed that I could start having real-life conversations right away. It was so fast. Now I'm speaking Spanish. Woohoo!
No wonder Babbel is the #1 selling language learning app in Europe. Try it for yourself and see why Babbel is the quick way to get conversational in a new language, like Spanish, French, or more. You can try Babbel for free. Go to Babbel.com or download the app and try it for free. That's Babbel, Babbel.com, or download the app to try it for free. That's Babbel.com.
Damn, boy, that's what I'm talking about, Jake.
I've worked in the private sector. They expect results.
Welcome to the Nation of Jake on The Voice, KWAM, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
All right, welcome back.
Yes, have some.
The Nation of Jake on The Voice, FM 107.9 AM 990, online, KWAMTheVoice.com, streaming live on YouTube, the channel Nation of Jake. Just run it all together, Nation of Jake, no spaces. It'll take you right to me. Also, we got the Facebook page you want to keep up there. I know that people send me hate mail from time to time. Send me a message on Facebook, or if you prefer, do what Carlos does. Carlos hits me up on Twitter on the daily. I think that he is a full-fledged patriot of the Nation of Jake. Appreciate him and all of you for tuning in on this lovely day. It's turned out. It's nice and sunny out. It's probably 85 or something. A little bit of rain earlier, but I'm going to get out after it, man. I want to get out too and go to the playground, hang out, maybe, make some new friends out there. Maybe my kid go do some pull-ups, that kind of stuff. Maybe have an unstructured day of fun. Or maybe we'll go to karate. Or maybe we'll just hang out and watch Spider-Verse. Yeah, Into the Spider-Verse is on Netflix. And a buddy of mine, man, he said it was the greatest superhero movie that he ever saw in his life and that it was mind-blowing. And I watched it and I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. All about expectations. That's a theme on this program. Not just movies, not just music. Everything in your life is built on expectations. So, when you tell your friends about the Nation of Jake, don't overhype it. All right? Just tell them it's, hey, pretty good radio show that I think you'll appreciate. You can check it out on the radio every day from 1 to 3, right here on KWAM The Voice, or on demand with the podcast. Subscribe on iTunes, or check them out on YouTube, or the 2-minute show that gets posted to Facebook and YouTube, and sometimes to Twitter. Just be cool about it when you recommend the Nation of Jake. I don't want to be overrated. That would make me frustrated, because you can't update me if I'm overrated, a wise man once said. All right, so we got the news cruise coming up. Some actually breaking news about the Germantown Country Club. If you live out east, or if you were ever a member, or if you're a Germantowner, we got some news about the country club. It looks like they got a buyer and some plans. So that may be of interest to you. We'll do that in the news cruise, as well as another player coming in to the Battle Mayoral. You know this guy. You know him very well. And we'll get into all that in the news cruise coming up in just a bit. We'll also talk more about the debates and the polls since the Democrat debates last week. And also, is Joe Biden a racist for working with segregationists back in the 70s? Was that fair for Kamala Harris to play that card, her very coordinated attack on Joe Biden? Joe Biden's a lot of things. I think he's an awful candidate for president. But is he a racist? Is he? Come on. Does anybody really believe that? We'll get into that in just a bit. But for now, it being July 1st, we need to go over the laws that are going into effect today. The Tennessee State Legislature put hundreds of laws on the books. I think over 140 of them go into effect today. And as I said at the top of the show, 140 laws. I mean, can't you even do the addition by subtraction? Can't you repeal a bunch of them first? I mean, just do like for every law we pass, we need to take one off the books. You know, a lot of these laws do that. They reverse course, or they change existing laws. But man, just thinking about a legislature gets together for a few months every spring, and they're able to come up with 140 laws. We have too many laws. And I'm going to tell you this about laws. I like the law. I think that the law kind of sets us free in a way, because you are free to act within the law. But you have to know. It has to be a promulgated law. But when 140 go on the books and go into effect in one day, how in the hell can you keep up with all that? How are you supposed to keep it legal? No, they say ignorance of the law is no excuse or no defense. But when they put 140 all at one time, it's like, good Lord. So, we've got today going into effect. If you are a texter and driver, or hell, if you just talk on the phone and drive, you better get a hands-free device. Always a good idea. Always a good rule of thumb. And I'm guilty of it, man. I'll shoot off, a text or look at my phone while I'm driving. From time to time, I got a stop sign. I'll do that. And it's not the best habit to get into, and it's a habit I need to break today. You can't even dial the phone. You can't even dial it. This law will prohibit drivers 18 and older from holding or physically supporting a cell phone with any part of one's body while driving. Now, you can still support or hold a hamburger, I believe. I believe you're allowed to eat tacos in the car. You're allowed to drink coffee while you drive, but you cannot eat it off of a cell phone. You can't use your cell phone as a plate for a quesadilla. Not that you wouldn't want to do that. You'd rather eat off a toilet seat, I'm told. Your cell phone or your iPad has way more germs on it than a toilet seat. And you'd be better off using a toilet seat as a plate than an iPhone. You can't talk on the phone while driving unless you use an earpiece, headphone device, or device worn on a wrist to conduct a voice-based conversation. So, if you have one of those Bluetooths that goes right into your deck, your dash, that's probably fine too. Drivers could be fined up to $200, and younger drivers, they already have a law prohibiting them from using phones while driving. So, kids, nothing changes for you, but if you're an adult, no talking on the phone while you drive. Not today, not ever. Sports betting is now legal. The Tennessee Sports Gaming Act takes effect. It will allow online sports gambling, but continue to prohibit gambling in physical locations. So you can't go to a sports book, but you can get online and access one. Additionally, the March Madness and Fantasy Football Freedom Act will take effect. The regulation will decriminalize wagers on fantasy sports leagues and sports pools under certain circumstances. So all you guys who had your fantasy football teams and you had a pool, you are now operating legally. Before, it was illegal. As if that stopped anybody. Since many forms of gambling are prohibited in the state, the law adds low-level sports entertainment pools to activities officially not considered gambling. So, look, low-level sports betting pools, you know, a guy in the office, not illegal. It's fine. And that's a long time coming. I mean, I really think anybody should be able to do whatever they want with their money so long as it's with consent. But gambling, yeah, people get addicted to it, man. People get addicted to a lot of stuff. Cigarettes, people get addicted to pills, all kinds of things. If you want to go throw your money away on gambling, then go ahead. But don't come crying to me when you got no money. On death penalty appeals, they're going to, I guess, they're going to expedite the death penalty appeals process by sending death penalty cases to the Tennessee Supreme Court. Yes, and removing a court of criminal appeals step. They're going to streamline the death penalty appeals process, which is fine. It's fine. Anybody worth putting to death is worth putting to death today, so we don't need a long, drawn-out process. And I think that when the state decides they're going to put you to death, and that should only be with clear and convincing evidence of guilt, if they decide they're going to kill you, then it needs to go straight to the Supreme Court. Like, hey, get this middleman out of here. Let's just give this to the highest law of the land that deals with the death penalty in the state and then be done with it. So we can get this show on the road, right? People staying alive for 35 years before they jump into old Sparky. It's not right. Criminal justice reform, they're going to have a $180 fee waived for individuals petitioning the court for expungements for certain criminal offenses and remove a $350 fee for a defendant applying for an expungement of an offense after they complete a diversion program. So yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, a lot of people who get pinged for these low-level crimes, they get into this cycle where they can't afford to have it expunged off their record, and because it's on their record, they can't get a job. So it's like, hey, I'm trying to get a job so I can get this thing expunged, but I don't have any money to get it expunged, so I can't get a job. It's kind of like that Alice Cooper song back in the day. It's like, I can't get a car because I don't have a job. I don't have a job, so I can't get a car. Which one was that? Hairstyling. Anybody a hairstylist or a fledgling? I used to run a salon out of my sunroom back in college, specialized in mohawks and head shavings. It's called Jake's Salon for the heterosexual male. This law will exempt a person who engages in hair braiding from the requirements of a cosmetologist license if certain requirements are met. Hair braiding is defined in the legislation. How about that? In the legislation, they had to define hair braiding. They define hair braiding as techniques resulting in tension on hair strands, such as twisting, wrapping, weaving, extending, locking, or braiding of the hair by hand or mechanical appliances for compensation without cutting, coloring, relaxing, removing, chemically treating, or using other preparations to straighten, curl, or alter the structure of the hair. So yeah, hair braiding is now legal. Before, you had to have like all these different licensures and whatnot. businesses operated by minors. I think we went over this one. This is like the lemonade stand bill. If a kid has a lemonade stand and they make less than $3,000 operating their lemonade stand, they don't have to get a license for it. They don't have to go get a license. If a kid wants to raise money for Donald Trump's wall, or they want to raise money for Planned Parenthood abortions, whichever side of the political aisle your child is on, which, by the way, don't let your kid raise money for political purposes. That should be part of this law. You can't stop them because you read about it. A kid wants to raise money for a friend of his because his friend is sick and he wants to do a nice thing. He wants to be part of his community, and he wants to raise some money for his friends. And then the health department guy comes up and says, "Hey, man, you don't have a license. People going to get sick." So they shut down the lemonade stand, and the kid gets all kinds of attention from the news. And then there's a GoFundMe, and they raise like 1,000 times more than the lemonade stand would ever raise. They're kind of doing the kid a disservice at this point, right? Oh, indecent exposure bill. Here we go. One of several recent bills slammed. Oh, this is not like a good indecent exposure bill. This is the one that bans people from the bathroom. What happened? Like I've got transgender bathrooms in my house. Seriously. There's no like ladies or men on the door in my house. I'm the only man in my house. I use a ladies' room all the time. No bills governing it. I think it's goofy we have any bills governing bathrooms at all. Crazy stuff here. But it becomes like The Last Stand. Like, oh, the stakes are so high. We've made it all the way to bathroom legislation. Yeah, they were litigating civil rights 50 years ago, and now we are in bathroom litigation. That's goofy. Drone drops can't drop items or substances from drones from an unmanned aircraft into an open-air event. And I guess unless you've got the right permits, correct? I mean, come on. What if you throw a music festival and you want to give a T-shirt giveaway and drop T-shirts from a drone? You should be able to do that. I'd like some clarification on this law. Child marriages, can't do it. Cockfighting, can't do it. Traffic safety. You're not allowed to loiter or conduct any commercial activity in or close to the median of a state highway. That's good. That's a good law. You get on a state highway, people running around in the median, raising money, filling up boots with money, or selling candy bars in the middle of the highway. It's dangerous, and nobody wants your candy bars. Not while I'm driving. I can't eat it. Can't do this distracted driving, man. Plus, I'm on the phone, dude. You can't bother me while I'm on the phone while I'm driving. Can't do that either. All right, those are your new laws. Just a handful. Just about a dozen or so. But there's 140 of them, and I would urge you to get familiar with the law, because ignorance of the law is no excuse for breaking it. And you'll go to jail. The good news is you won't have to pay to have your record expunged. All right, coming up, we've got more on the post-debate polls. And is Joe Biden a racist? Was that really a fair attack by Kamala Harris to say, I don't think you're racist, but you're a racist old man? We're going to get into exactly what was so racist about what Joe Biden did back in the 70s. We'll do it next right here in the Nation of Jake.
The Voice, KWAM, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
When's the last time you looked at the windows in your house? Not through the windows, but at the windows. Really looked at them. There's dirt, streaks, buildup, smudges, fingerprints, paw prints, spider webs, dead bugs. There's little white speckles. I have no idea what they are, and who knows what else. Now, cleaning all the windows in your house makes a big difference, but it's also a big job. That's why you need Just Windows Home Services. Just Windows has been taking the pain out of window cleaning since 1992. Just Windows cleans all types of windows, storm windows, screens, skylights, interior, exterior, upstairs and down. Now, I know I told you the company is called Just Windows Home Services, but they do a lot more. Roof and gutter cleaning, pressure washing, mirrors, blinds, ceiling fans, light fixtures, chandeliers. Look, if you've got hard to reach areas of the house, then you need Just Windows Home Services. Call for a free estimate, 751-3935. 3934. That's 751-3934. Or get them online at justwindowsmemphis.com. That's justwindowsmemphis.com.
The special event florist for the Mid-South is Lynn Doyle Flowers. They are famous for creating incredible floral arrangements and are available to fill even your last-minute needs. From the simple to the magnificent, their staff can create unique arrangements for your special occasion. Flowers always bring a smile, make someone's day, and for fast, convenient delivery, call Lynn Doyle Flowers today at 901-323-4521 or visit their beautiful new location at 6225 Old Poplar Pike.
For expert service guaranteed, call 866-EXPERTS.
That's the number that could save you up to 30% on your energy bills. Call today and Service Experts Heating and Air Conditioning will hook you up with an AC tune-up. Right now, save $20 on an AC tune-up. Service Experts Heating and Air Conditioning, your hometown Memphis tune-up pros.
Call 866-EXPERTS.
See website for license details.
Is it a good time to buy or refi? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are interest rates going sky high soon? Hi, I'm Ludi Calloway, the mortgage lady at iBank Mortgage. I tell my customers to ask questions, get answers. So join me every Monday morning at 8 and I will tell you what's going on in today's still changing mortgage world. Remember, most people think about mortgages a few times in their lives. I think about them every single day. Tune in Mondays at 8.
Don't miss Maine and Mulberry Live every Thursday morning at 8 right here on KWAM The Voice. Maine and Mulberry Live explores the crossroads of modernization and small-town tradition, exemplified in Collierville, Tennessee. Host Keith Essery sits down with local entrepreneurs, thriving businesses, city officials, and thought leaders right here every Thursday at 8 a.m. Tune in and learn how a town comes of age with economic growth. Maine and Mulberry Live is brought to you by John Green & Company Realtors, building neighbors for 40 years.
Hi, this is Jim Shoemaker. Join me next Wednesday at 8 a.m. and again on Saturday at 9 a.m. with my special guest, Effie Johnson of the Neighborhood Christian School. We'll be talking about what's going on with our city and around the Neighborhood Christian School. Frank Allen will be here also talking about planning for the unexpected. If you have questions for Talk Money, email them to talkmoney@shoemakerfinancial.com. That's Wednesday morning and again on Saturday at 9 a.m. on Talk Money, The Voice, KWAM 990 and FM 107.9.
All right, welcome back.
Yes, have some.
The Nation of Jake on The Voice, FM 107.9 AM 990. We're online, KWAMTheVoice.com. Streaming live on YouTube. Go check out Nation of Jake on YouTube. Also on Facebook and Twitter, Nation of Jake. News cruise coming up in a little bit. What's going on in Germantown with the former Germantown Country Club. We'll get into that. As well as a new candidate for mayor of Memphis in the battle mayoral. A familiar face will enter the race, and we'll tell you who that is coming up in just a little bit. So, the debates last week, I mean, there was just so much fun had by all, right? I mean, you watched the debates. There was, on Wednesday, kind of boring with Elizabeth Warren and then all those losers around her. We did get a Spanish speak-off, which was very entertaining. There was some low-level law enforcement Spanish spoken by both Cory Booker and Beto O'Rourke. And meanwhile, Julian Castro was over there with, the name Castro and the name Julian, who obviously speaks Spanish, and he felt no need to speak Spanish to the Miami crowd. Or maybe he did. I don't know. Nobody paid attention to that. And then on Thursday night, it was a bloodbath. If you read all the opinions, all the spin, you would think that Joe Biden should just go with his tail between his legs and never show his face again, because Kamala Harris called him a racist. She actually prefaced it kind of with the all due respect thing. You say all due respect and you say something so disrespectful. Kamala Harris did the same thing, but with racism. Joe, I don't think you're a racist, but you've done some really racist stuff. What did he do that was so bad? Well, he kind of, at one point, he touted the fact that he worked with some senior senators when he was new in the Senate back in the 70s on an anti-busing bill, on some federal anti-busing legislation. and he sought the advice and counsel of a senator who was a segregationist, a guy named James Eastland. All right. So Joe Biden was this young senator because he wasn't that young. He was like my age. He was in his 40s, but he was young in the Senate. And so he was looking for some elder statesmen, guys who know how to get things done. And he wanted to use this working with James Eastland as an example of how he was able to work with people with whom he disagreed on issues. But it probably wasn't the best example. I mean, he could have used any example. John McCain, a Republican, walking on the other side of the aisle, he could have said, I worked with John McCain. I worked with Howard Baker of Tennessee, right? But instead, he said James Eastland. Well, here's what a lot of people don't know. James Eastland was not on the other side of the aisle. James Eastland was a Democrat. But James Eastland was also a racist. All right? He was. I mean, who was James Eastland? Let's get there. And today, Michael Nelson, a professor at Rhodes College, he was my professor for a few of my classes. He wasn't my favorite professor, and that's okay because I'm almost certain I was not his favorite student. That says he's doing some solid work in the Daily Memphian these days, and I appreciate it because he gives a unique perspective that you don't often see in local newspapers, especially not in the commercial appeal. Now, Michael Nelson lays it all out here about the problem with Biden having worked with James Eastland. Why was it a problem? Well, James Eastland was a racist. Well, back in the day, everybody was racist, especially in the South, Mississippi, which is the state that James Eastland represented. And there's one line in here that Nelson sums it all up, and I have to praise him for this because this is masterful. If I can find it. This guy, Michael Nelson, lays it out. He's saying that, make no mistake, all right, here, James Eastland was a racist. And the way that he worded it, and I should have highlighted, but I ran out of ink in my highlighter, and now I'm embarrassed. Oh, come on, where did it go? It was so brilliant. I was so proud. Here we go. Let's be blunt. Eastland was a segregationist of a kind no longer found in the Senate. He was a racist in every meaningful sense of the word, as opposed to the contemporary left's flabby use of the label to brand just about anyone who doesn't toe the Progressive Party line. That turn of phrase is fantastic, and it's sneaky. He just on the down low just says, oh, this guy was a racist, as opposed to the contemporary left's flabby use of the label to brand just about everyone who doesn't toe the Progressive Party line, saying that being called a racist in 2019 is way different than actually being a racist in 1978. James Eastland was a racist. He believed in segregation, meaning white people are better than black people and the two should not ever even touch each other. That's how racist this guy was. And when you've got a guy who's that racist, it is right to call it out. But now, the flabby use of today's left, they just call everybody a racist. Think about that. Flabby use. It really is a perfect turn of phrase, a perfect descriptor, isn't it? Flabby. Flabby, broad, but not strong. Just loose, flabby use of it. Not efficient, flabby. No muscle behind it. It's just thrown around. So Kamala Harris is calling Joe Biden racist because he was able to find common ground or work channels. Because this guy, James Eastland, he was a pretty powerful Democratic senator. He was around for a long time in the Senate. He became like the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. If you wanted to get things done in the Senate, you got to be there for a long time. You got to be like a elder statesman, senior kind of senator. And the whole thing is that Joe Biden was illustrating that, look, I did not agree with James Eastland on a lot of stuff, but I was able to work with him. And that today, nobody wants to work with one another. Nobody wants to work with each other. But it didn't help that Joe Biden was working on federal anti-busing legislation. even though that busing was a failed experiment, especially from the federal level. Think about what was going on. You had people in neighborhood schools who were going to be put on a bus and bussed out of their neighborhood schools into other schools in other neighborhoods. And then those kids from those neighborhoods will be bussed into their neighborhood schools. All in the name of equality? And also, listen, if they wanted busing, they could have done it at the local level. And that was really the problem, is the overreach, the federal government. At a time, Democrats actually didn't like the overreach. I mean, it became the party of overreach. But there was an argument to be made that this decision shouldn't be made at the federal level. The federal government's way too far away to govern what kids go to schools. And taking a kid out of the neighborhood school to send them across town in the name of equality, send a kid to a worse school, or send a kid from a poor neighborhood to a rich neighborhood school where he's going to feel out of place, where he might get ridiculed, especially at the time, because the court said the government can't be racist anymore doesn't mean that people weren't racist anymore. So it was a failed experiment. It chased a lot of people into private schools. It hurt schools overall, and it hurt black schools really bad, real bad. All the busing and it's controversial, but look, back in the day, in the 50s, one of the only real good jobs you could get if you were black was a teacher. And so when they integrated the schools and did all this busing and stuff, when they did these things, who got fired? The black teachers got fired. So black kids went to school and they were taught by white teachers among white students. They didn't see people who looked like them, and all these really great teachers, because black schools were performing just as well, they all got fired. They couldn't work. They couldn't get the good. That was like one of the great jobs you could have. So it caused all kinds of problems. And as the old unintended consequences, they wanted to make it fair and do it right. But honestly, forget the anti-busing. Forget all of that. The problem is with the overreach. You can apply it to anything. And I had this discussion not long ago with a good buddy of mine who's a really smart guy. We were talking about gun control. If you want to just apply this to another political hot topic. Gun control. They want to ban bump stocks and they want to ban silencers. Listen, I don't care about bump stocks or silencers. I do not care about those two things. I care about the government having the power to reach in and tell you what you can and can't own, especially if you have a constitutional right to own it. I don't even care about guns. I'm not a gun guy. I'm not into shooting guns. I'm not into it. Not at all. It's not something that I feel strongly about. However, I don't like the idea of the federal government reaching in and telling people what they can and can't own, what they can and can't do, especially when this stuff, A, is a protected constitutional right, or B, can be managed just fine at the local level. So whether it's the long arm of the government coming in telling you what you can and can't own, or where you have to send your kids to school. Listen, out in Berkeley, where Kamala Harris said that I was bussed into a school, whatever it was, and some dubious claims that were made, that is fine, but that was a decision that was made on the local level, and that was fine. It was the federal level. The role of the federal government is not to tell what kids can go to a neighborhood school and who has to be bussed where, because it wreaked havoc on all of it. And it was worse for public education, and it was worse for black students. It made it worse. It did not help things. It was a failed experiment from years past. And I think we know that now. But because there's that racial element, and because Joe Biden worked with a guy who was a racist, as many Southern Democrats back in the day, and Republicans were racist back then, an old man in the 70s. Grew up in like the 19-teens, right? So yeah, I mean, it was kind of a coordinated, dubious attack to get some attention for Kamala Harris. It wasn't a solid debate point. She didn't make a great point about any policy. She didn't win any meaningful argument, she attacked a guy for what he did in the 70s. And that's why I said it's going to be a problem for Joe Biden. His long record is not going to hold up to the lens of 2019, because that's what we do now. We hold everything that's happened in history through the lens of 2019 and what is acceptable now, instead of looking at it in context. You can't stand up to that kind of scrutiny. It's not even fair scrutiny, but you can't stand up to it. But that's the world we live in. So it's been nice knowing you, Joe Biden. You might hang in for a while longer, but I don't like your chances. But here's the thing about it. You know who wins? Donald Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump does not want to face Joe Biden, because there's still that idea, at least that perception, that Joe Biden is a moderate. That, hey, some people who voted for Trump in 2016 could hold their nose and vote for Joe Biden. So, look, the people raising up their hands saying, hey, free health care for illegal immigrants, that, to me, that was the biggest part of the debate that nobody's talking about. All right, coming up, we've got the news cruise. We'll look at the headlines in a leisurely fashion. We'll do it next right here in the Nation of Jake.
The Voice, KWAM, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
CBS News Update. There may be a cascading impact of the U.S. withdrawal from the Iran nuclear agreement. Iran has now stockpiled more low-enriched uranium than it's allowed to under the 2015 deal. And Britain's foreign secretary says if Iran breaks the deal, Britain is out too.
It's part of the great unraveling, which, at least for this round, was set into motion by the Trump administration's decision to unilaterally withdraw from the Iran nuclear agreement.
Aaron David Miller with the Woodrow Wilson International Center.
A demonstration that the Iranians want to persuade the administration and the world that they have other options in an effort, presumably, to find a way to leverage and pressure them to return to the agreement. That clearly is not going to happen, and that's why we're moving perhaps toward a confrontation.
Experts say Iran is still far from obtaining a nuclear weapon. CBS News Update, I'm Pam Coulter.
Stop everything you're doing right now and ask yourself, are you currently receiving steady paychecks? What about when you're retired? Will you receive a monthly check to cover your expenses and also have some fun? Dan Groban and Phil Menard at Servant Advisors Group call this mailbox money. It's the monthly check you'll receive throughout retirement. They want to help remove stress from your retirement. They don't want you to worry about if the money will show up or how much money you'll receive. The only thing they want you to think about is how to spend it when it arrives. Find out how to get enough money in your mailbox every month when you're retired. Call Servant Advisors Group at 855-260-1000 for a complimentary retirement analysis with strategies that could help your nest egg provide you monthly income you'll need in retirement. Call right now, 855-260-1000. Servant Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Servant Advisors Group, LLC. Insurance licensed in Tennessee, Mississippi, and in Arkansas.
This is Clark Howard. Unfortunately, in many communities around the country, there are insurance scams where people are in accidents with you that they really set up so that you look as if you're at fault. And it's all about claiming personal injury and all that. It's not about damage to their vehicle. And I want you to know this has become a big problem in several cities. So there's a simple solution for you. It'll cost you as little as $15. Buy what's known as a dash cam. It's a little miniature camera that you mount on your windshield, and it continuously records on an SD card what goes on typically for a 15-minute cycle. If you're ever in an accident somebody's claiming is your fault, and you're pretty confident it's not, you've got the video evidence on that dash cam that could make a big difference in who wins and who loses in an accident claim.
I'm pretty handy around the house, but now that I have kids, I don't want to spend my Saturday installing a toilet or fixing an air conditioner. But thankfully, there's Home Advisor. Home Advisor helps me find the best home pros in my area to handle any kind of project. You can read reviews of the pros, check their availability, and even book appointments online. And what my wife loves most is that Home Advisor is completely free to use.
Go to HomeAdvisor.com or download the free app to get started.
Home Advisor.
Have you heard what President Trump said recently?
Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too.
Now you can watch Newsmax TV and get the truth about Trump from Bill O'Reilly, Mike Reagan, Alan Dershowitz, Pat Buchanan, and more. Newsmax TV is America's fastest-growing cable news channel, now in 70 million homes. Find Newsmax on DirecTV, Dish, Xfinity, Spectrum, Optimum, Fios, Uverse, and more systems. See Newsmax TV today. It's real news for real people.
All right, welcome back.
Yes, have some.
The Nation of Jake is on The Voice, FM 107.9, AM 990, online, KWAMTheVoice.com, streaming live on YouTube. Nation of Jake is the channel. It is the time of the program where we hop on the boat. Let's go. This is called the News Cruise, a leisurely look at the headlines. Get a whiff of the clean, fresh sea air.
Exciting and new. Come aboard. We're expecting you. The News Cruise. Full of exciting news. The News Cruise. So relax and kick off your shoes.
All right, welcome aboard the News Cruise, brought to you by our friends at Just Windows Home Services. They are online at justwindowsmemphis.com. You can also call them, 751-3934. You need your gutters cleaned out, cut down on those mosquitoes breeding up there in your gutters. You also need your patio cleaned off. You can pressure wash that, the deck, walkways, anything you got going on in the backyard. And also they can do your windows, because it is just windows, but it's so much more. 751-3934, a free estimate from Just Windows. And if you tell them the Nation of Jake sent you, you'll get 20% off that estimate. So make sure you check out justwindowsmemphis.com. All right, a lot going on here in the Mid-South, here on the News Cruise. Looks like we got a new player coming into the battle mayoral. October 3rd, we'll have a mayoral election in the city of Memphis. And we've got Prince Mongo announcing he's back in the fold. Yeah, good old Prince Mongo. 3 weeks from the filing deadline for candidates in the Memphis elections, Robert Prince Mongo Hodges has pulled a petition to join the race for mayor. The race has 15 contenders, including Mongo. The ones getting the most ink are Willie Harrington, Tammy Sawyer, and of course the incumbent Mayor Jim Strickland.
Mayor! Mr. Strickland!
But now we've got Leo Algawat, who is a more recent perennial contender, kind of like Prince Mongo for the new age, a millennial Prince Mongo. But Prince Mongo, who is long claimed to be from the planet Zambodia, he's always been running for office. I do not need to explain to you who Prince Mongo is. Maybe if you're new to town and you don't know the legend of Prince Mongo, when I was a kid, he ran in the election between Willie Harrington and Dick Hackett. A lot of people think in 1990, 91, whenever that was, that he swung that election because that was a 142 vote difference. Dick Hackett lost by 142 votes. And quite a few people voted for Prince Mongo, just out of novelty. Earl, how many votes did Prince Mongo get in that election?
Probably got like 10, 15,000 votes.
10 or 15,000, so you would imagine that even if a small fraction of those votes went to Dick Hackett, that it would have changed things. So, a spoiler. Yeah. Could he be a spoiler? I don't know with a field this crowded. We'll see how many people make it to October. Now, some of the things that just from memory that I know that I used to hear the Prince Mongo ads. You know, he was for public executions for criminals who commit heinous crimes. He was for giving food and wine to the homeless here in Memphis. Did he ride butt naked on a horse in the Liberty Bowl one time?
I never saw it.
Well, I didn't see it either. I think it might have been before I was around. Yeah, the public hangings, 333 in Court Square. So he's got plans to stocked the Mississippi River and Memphis Harbor with sharks to prevent escapes from his Alcatraz of Mud Island. That's where there would be the prison. And so he used to run for county and city mayor all the time. And now he's back in it. You know, I've had Prince Mongo on radio before, and I'm kind of concerned because he really liked my ideas on torture. And my ideas on torture were just in jest. I was joking about all the torture, but I had some pretty wicked things in store for the heinous criminals that he wanted to hang. And he was on board to the point where I think I could probably get a spot on his committee to elect Prince Mongo. And, of course, you know, you had the old club at Ashler Hall, beer bust for 16-year-old kids. I mean, this guy is a Memphis legend. So what is it? Yes, hell yes, Mongo. That's his slogan. Yep. It's like a slogan logo. The old yes, hell yes. So that's a development in the battle mayoral. Oh, we've got Memphis Tourism reporting a modest increase in visitors in 2018 to reach 11.8 million, and said this year could be up substantially. And during an annual meeting at Crosstown Concourse, the organization, Memphis Tourism, they touted its data-driven approach to selling the city as a visitor destination. So they've got it all broken down. They've got their audiences into 8 segments, and they've analyzed by about 1,200 online survey responses. They range from Beal and Barbecue, national millennials, to iconic Americana, international boomers. I've got a rejected slogan for Memphis Tourism. It goes like this: Memphis, come for the barbecue, stay because you got murdered. Rejected. You can't do that. That's not the image that the folks want to project. Oh, by the way, add this to the laws going into effect today. This is a new one that I did not get to earlier. Drunk scootering. Yes, everybody who rides a Bird or Lime scooter should know that drinking and scootering could mean serious consequences. That will be like a DUI. You can't get drunk and go scootering on the... Those things are dangerous if you're sober. I can't imagine that, you know, if you're already a top-heavy, uncoordinated goof getting on there tipsy. You don't want to do it. All right, we've got I promised we would get into this as well. The Germantown Country Club has been sold. Now, the city of Germantown wanted to buy it. Their bid was not accepted. But a company from Arizona, Millennium Companies, is going to buy it, and they intend to keep it partially as a golf course. It's going to be kind of like a golf village. They're going to have some shops. They're going to have some condos or some single-family homes, along with, I guess, a par 3 course. They're going to have a 9-hole course with holes ranging from 100 to 200 yards, as well as an 18-hole putting course near the clubhouse. So some mini golf there in Germantown. So this is news, and it's still developing because this company out of Arizona, they've got to start pulling permits for all the stuff they want to do with the property. And I think that Mayor Palazzoldo and the Board of Aldermen, they are going to have to give the okay, because right now they've got this moratorium on apartments. It's going to expire next week, but they're talking about putting an indefinite hold on developments altogether while they get it worked out what they want to do. So this Arizona company who wants to do things with Germantown, they are going to have to go through the leadership of Germantown and maybe, well, hold your horses there with all this golf village, mini golf, goofy golf right in the middle of Germantown, because people live right around there. So having any kind of new business or commerce it's going to have to go through the proper channels. So that's what's going on in Germantown. We got a few other headlines we can get to when we get back. Going to get you set up for Earl Farrell. He's coming up in just about 15 minutes or so. So we'll do that and wrap things up next right here in the Nation of Jake.
The The Voice, KWAM, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
If you're thinking about buying or selling a home, stop. Don't do anything until you talk to my man, James Underwood. James Underwood has been helping people like you navigate the Mid-South real estate market for more than a decade. So whether you're looking to buy your first home or you want to upgrade to your forever home, James Underwood can help make it happen. No gimmicks, no guarantees, just a rock-solid guy that I've known for 25 years. So now, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, hit up James Underwood with CryLike. JamesUnderwood.crylike.com. That's JamesUnderwood.crylike.com.
Did you know that your potential customers look at your website and determine your credibility within 8 seconds? Make sure your business reflects the quality service you provide. Contact Control Alt Design for a free quote today. Today's marketplace is very competitive and you need a professional web presence. Control Alt Design offers web design at a fraction of what the larger firms charge. Control Alt Design has been helping local businesses stand out on the web for over 20 years. They also offer logo design, business card design, flyers, brochures, and more. See their work today at ControlAltDesign.com.
Love everything about cars? Then check out my show, Auto Talk Live. I'll talk about everything automotive, from new cars to cool tech and car buying tips. Your escape from politics, reality shows, and everyday life. It's educational and entertaining. So join me, JP Paluga, every Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. for Auto Talk Live. Live on KWAM The Voice, FM 107.9, AM 990.
If you're a baby boomer here in the Mid-South area, this message is for you. We've designed a brand new radio show with you in mind. It's The Retirement Income Doctor, hosted by Dave McAdams of the McAdams Group. Each week, Dave will teach you retirement strategies that have worked year after year, decade after decade in any kind of market. That's right, the Retirement Income Doctor will teach you these strategies. So join us Saturday mornings at 10 for the Retirement Income Doctor.
All right, welcome back.
Yes, have some.
It's so loud. I love it. It's the Nation of Jake on The Voice, FM 107.9, AM 990, online, KWAMTheVoice.com. Also online, streaming live on YouTube. The Nation of Jake is the channel. Nation of Jake. Run it all together. Also, Facebook, Twitter, all the rest. Nation of Jake, wherever you go on the internet. Got the podcast coming up in just a few. I will have that all ready and posted, ready for stream and download on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, wherever fine podcasts are heard. So go and subscribe, not only on the YouTube channel, but also the Nation of Jake podcast. All right, so I am back in town from East Tennessee. Went to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I guess Sevierville. Is that how they say it out there? Sevierville. I was hoping I would run into Dolly Parton. That would be best case scenario. I love Dolly Parton. I've always loved Dolly Parton from her days on the silver screen, 9 to 5, Dabney Coleman, Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda. And what a fantastic film that was. I guess it wasn't that great. It was spawned the big hit by Dolly Parton. She's an icon. All right, when I went to Vegas, I wanted to see Wayne Newton, and I did. I was able to reach out and touch Wayne Newton. When I went to Pigeon Forge, I was looking to reach out and touch Dolly Parton. Just like shake her hand or something, not how you're thinking. I did not see Dolly Parton, but I will say this about Pigeon Forge. Seems like it would be a good place to take the family, but you got to be careful. Earl, you've not been to Pigeon Forge before.
Smoky Mountains, but never Pigeon.
All right, the Smokies, I guess you got the Pigeon Forge side, and you got Gatlinburg nearby, and a lot of little small town stuff. Pigeon Forge is kind of like redneck Vegas of the Smokies. It's a really odd place. There were a couple of things that jumped out at me. All the adult stores, the love stuff stores that, they sell magazines and or, adult stuff. But it's all right out there. I mean, so if you take your kids to Pigeon Forge, there's plenty to do. I saw water slides. I saw some roller coasters. But if your kids read, you might want to map out your route to maybe bypass a lot of the adult love stuff stores, because that can be awkward explaining that to the little ones. But even when you go in gift shops, Earl, I saw something that was I thought was interesting. You go into these gift shops everywhere in Pigeon Forge, which is the home of Cooter's Garage. Now, Cooter, the mechanic from the Dukes of Hazzard, they've got rebel flags everywhere, every shop. I mean, that is Trump country. You know, if Jussie Smollett really wanted to go to MAGA country, he would go to Pigeon Forge. You go into these gift shops in Pigeon Forge, and they've got everything from Donald Trump flags for 2020 to Confederate flags, Dukes of Hazzard, I'm a good old boy t-shirts with the rebel flag, and some that are just really aggressive. You know, if this flag offends you, get out of my country kind of stuff. And all these gift shops, or at least most of them that I went into, they are run by immigrants. They're run by people who you would not expect to be selling this stuff, right? But it comes down to this. These folks who are immigrants and come to our country, they want to make a good living, and they understand supply and demand. They're going to stock their shelves with stuff that people will buy. And if you're in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, you're in Trump country, people are going to buy Trump t-shirts and Trump flags, Make America Great Again hats. And you know what these immigrants are going to do? They're going to stock it and they're going to sell it, and they're going to use that money to feed their families. That's what they're going to do. Thought it was an interesting dynamic. Because, man, I mean, a lot of places, you sell that kind of stuff, you get boycotted. Amazon doesn't even sell that stuff anymore. Walmart doesn't sell that stuff anymore. So it's like you got to go to East Tennessee to Pigeon Forge to buy that stuff. And you know who's going to capitalize on it? Immigrants. Yeah, and I'm for it. I'm for it. Support the mom and pops. The one thing I did in Pigeon Forge that I'm kind of ashamed of is I allowed myself to be dragged to a Cracker Barrel. Yeah, my buddies were like, oh, cool, let's go eat something. And so I'm like, all right, great. There's like this pancake place down here. Looks pretty solid. There's some Greasy Spoon down here. I mean, if we're not going to eat healthy, let's just do this. And they're like, oh, let's just go to Cracker Barrel. It's like, what? I can go to Cracker Barrel on I-40 in Memphis. I go to going to East Tennessee, drive 10 hours. It took me 10 hours because the dude I rode with is a lady, and he wouldn't use the emergency gravel turnaround on the expressway. That was frustrating. It was a fun trip. I conned my buddy Chad into buying some Wolverine claws. And I say that only because it wasn't all just Make America Great Again stuff. You got like leather shops. You want to buy a belt or a belt buckle, cowboy hat, cowboy boots. I mean, it's all there. It's like redneck Las Vegas Strip. That's really the best analog I can give you for Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. But my buddy Chad, he's a bit of a dork. And I saw these Wolverine claws, they're like stainless steel Wolverine claws, and I said, I need those in my life, but I don't want to buy them. Hey, Chad, get over here. And he's like, ooh, only $50? It's a steal. Went back to the cabin, and he destroyed a watermelon with them. That's how I spent the weekend. All right, Earl's up next. I'll be back tomorrow at 1. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Serving Tennessee, Mississippi, and Arkansas. The latest news stories are here. This is KWAM Memphis.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans.
I'm Pam Coulter. Part of Facebook's California Mail Handling Center has been evacuated following suspicious packaging